Good morning, brothers and sisters. This is a prophecy report entitled Trumpets. While the Hebrews were wandering in the wilderness, God told Moses to make 2 trumpets of silver. God told Moses to blow the trumpets, to signal the people to assembly, to signal the people to march, to signal the people at times of war, and to announce the feast days and sacrifices. He told Moses what feast days to observe, when to observe them, and why they should observe them. Leviticus 23. Blow the trumpets to assemble. God said, when they shall blow with them, all the assembly shall assemble themselves to thee at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. Numbers 10, verse 3. Blow the trumpets to march. God said, make thee 2 trumpets of silver for the journey of the camps. Numbers 10, verse 2. When Moses wanted the Jews to move to a new location, they were to start moving at the sound of a trumpet. Blow the trumpets for war. God said, if you go to war, blow the trumpets and I will remember you. Numbers 10, verse 9. At Jericho, God told Joshua to march around the city once each day for 6 days and have priests blow ram's horns or shofars and trumpets. Joshua 6. He told them to do it 7 times on the 7th day, and on the 7th time the walls of Jericho fell. Blow trumpets for feasts and sacrifices. God said, in the days of your gladness you shall blow the trumpets over your burnt offerings and over your sacrifices. Numbers 10:10. Trumpets were blown to show that the feast days and the sacrifices were special days and events, not ordinary days and events. They are special because they point to God and Jesus. Trumpets and the voice of God. The Israelites heard the voice of the trumpet when God came down to give them the 10 Commandments at Mount Sinai, Exodus 19:16. When John saw Jesus on the island of Patmos, he heard a voice like a trumpet, Revelation 1:10. When John was called up into heaven, he heard a voice as of a trumpet, Revelation 4:1. Trumpets when deceased Christians are raised. Paul said, the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, and with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of God, and the dead in Christ shall rise first. 1 Thessalonians 4:16. An Old Testament picture of the New Testament rapture. Moses led the Jews to Mount Sinai. God told Moses he would come down in a thick cloud to meet the people. Jesus will come down in the clouds to meet his people at the rapture. God wanted the Jews to hear his voice at Mount Sinai. Jesus will shout, and his people will hear his voice at the rapture. There were thunderings and lightnings and a thick cloud upon the mount, and the voice of the trumpet exceedingly loud. And Moses brought forth the people out of the camp to meet with God. At the rapture, the church will be caught up to meet the Lord in the air. The last trumpet, or the great blast. Mount Sinai was altogether on a smoke, because the Lord descended upon it in fire. And the smoke thereof ascended as the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mount quaked greatly. And when the voice of the trumpet sounded long, and waxed louder and louder, Moses spake, and God answered him by a voice. The last blast of the trumpet was the longest and loudest. Some of the religious Jews call that last blast the last trump, or the great blast. Assemble at the door. When the trumpets were blown a certain way in the wilderness, the Jews were to assemble at the door of the tabernacle. When Jesus blows the trumpet, the church will assemble in the air and go to the door of heaven. Now the feast of Passover, unleavened bread, and firstfruits foretold the gospel, the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus. Not all prophecy teachers agree on this, but some believe the feast of Pentecost and trumpets foretell the beginning and the end of the church age, also called the beginning and end of the age of grace. My personal belief is that the fall feast will be fulfilled at the end of the tribulation period. in accordance with Jacob's trouble in the dealings with the nation of Israel. Here are some events that seem to indicate that we are getting close to the rapture. Concerning trumpets, to alert the Jews that something terrible is about to happen, God told the prophet Joel to blow ye the trumpet in Zion and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord cometh, for it is nigh at hand. A day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness. As the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong, there hath not been ever like this, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. Joel 2, 1-2. The day of the Lord refers to the tribulation period. The blowing of the trumpet is to get the people's attention. On September 10th, Rabbi Glick of the Temple Mount fame blew a trumpet on the Mount of Olives in honor of God, the sovereign creator who created the world in 6 days. Glick was troubled by the fact that political considerations prevented him from blowing the trumpet on the Temple Mount, so he chose a spot that allowed him to see where the temple once stood. One purpose of the prophetic signs that are shaping up in the world today is to warn the world that the tribulation period is close. I suppose people can debate whether Glick blowing a trumpet on the Mount of Olives is a warning or not, but it seems to me that people need to listen to those who are saying the tribulation period is close. This is not the first time religious Jews have done this, but it is not unusual for God to give several warnings before he acts. Concerning peace and safety in the Middle East, on September 6th, it was reported that the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has held more discussions with the Saudis about a defense agreement between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia to protect Saudi against Iran. That would include a peace agreement between Saudi Arabia and Israel. He also held more discussions with Israel and pledged that the U.S. will continue to support policies that ensure freedom, security, and prosperity for Israelis and Palestinians alike. A breakthrough doesn't seem imminent, but the discussions are heating up, and there have been several reports that an agreement could come as soon as early 2024. I'm not predicting it, but it's possible that a declaration of peace and safety could be shaping up. Concerning natural disasters, on September 9th, a powerful 6.8 earthquake, the most powerful to strike North Africa in 120 years, struck Morocco, killing more than 1,000 people and leaving many injured and missing. The toll is expected to rise as rescuers start digging through the rubble. On September 12th, the confirmed death toll topped 2,900 and more than 5,500 have been injured. Concerning natural disaster, on September 10th, a Mediterranean cyclone called Daniel struck the coast of Libya. On September 12th, officials said it busted dams, washed away entire neighborhoods, killed more than 5,300 people, and left more than 10,000 missing. Concerning an increase in the frequency and intensity of natural disasters, on September 11th, it was reported that Hurricane Idalia, which struck Florida in August, was the 23rd billion-dollar weather disaster in the U.S. this year. The previous record of 22 was broken with 4 months to go. Concerning the ability to track all buying and selling, it is common knowledge that the U.S. government can locate anyone's cell phone. On October 4th, 2023, at 2:20 p.m., the U.S. Federal Communications Commission intends to send a text message, its second time to do this, to every customer's cell phone in the U.S. The purpose is to test America's emergency alert system, but the ability to contact every consumer cell phone in the U.S. at the same time is a clear signal that the ability to track everyone is shaping up. Concerning world government and a global ID, on September 10th, at a G20 meeting in India, EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said that the future of the world will be digital, so the world needs international digital ID systems. more globalist institutions to set boundaries and regulations, and global digital infrastructures along the lines of a passport system. For whatever it's worth, the unelected Antichrist will come out of the revived Roman Empire, and the current unelected president of the European Union is calling for more global laws. Concerning the battle of Gog and Magog, after reporting that Israel has obstructed 27 Iranian terror attacks on Israel in 2023, the head of Israel's intelligence agency said the time has come to exact a price for Iran, harm done to any Israeli or Jew in any way whatsoever. And I mean in any way whatsoever, via proxy or Iranian alike, will elicit a response against the Iranians who dispatched the terrorists and the policymakers who authorized the terror units to carry out the plots from the bottom all the way to the top. I mean what I say. The price will be exacted from deep inside Iran, in the heart of Tehran. Both sides have been making threats for years, but Iranian proxies are now attacking inside Israel, and the IDF is threatening to go after Iranian leaders deep inside Iran. If Israel carries out that threat, the Battle of Gog and Magog could break loose. Finally, are you rapture ready?